never make it this far. They hated, they never believe me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That to me, you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up, I shoot my shot. Wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this. Go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Yeah.
What up? Look at him. What's going on, guys?
Look at all that yellow.
Yeah, all that
woo. It's a little gay that we're all wearing the same outfit. But
I just thought of that just now, but
it's totally okay. I'm fine with it.
There was no memo though. Just make sure everyone knows.
If it was anybody else, if it was any other group, it'd be pretty bad. But it's the Wu-Tang.
It is. It's dope, dude. I went to see Wu-Tang with Jenny in Cleveland a few weeks ago, and they are old as fuck. But boy, do they spit bars. I love those guys.
Okay.
It was dope.
I've seen them 4 times in my life. They're amazing.
Have you seen, the only thing that bummed me out was that Method Man wasn't there. He was the only one that wasn't there.
Yeah, he's beyond it at this point. The guy has a lot of money. He's done. He's been done.
Doesn't his son do some fill-in
stuff
or something?
No, that's ODB. So that's
movies or something. Yeah.
No, ODB's kid, Young Dirty, does like ODB's parts of the live shows. It's pretty dope. He's got like dude, he's got like the same style, same like he gets the crowd all rowdy and shit. It was a cool moment when he came out because they like introduce all the members separately and have them do like a little piece from like their solo albums, like Raekwon,
the same
Cuban Links and shit. Dude, same twists up top, like sticking straight out his head, dude. He came out and did Brooklyn Zoo, and the place just lit up. It was dope. It was cool for sure. You're in a hotel room, bro. What racetrack are you at this weekend?
This is Mooresville, GoPro.
Club race
of the weekend.
Club race.
Yeah.
Nice. Hell yeah.
Yeah. Couple carts sold into the track, so I gotta finish building them tomorrow, and then they get on track Friday. Then one race is Saturday, one race is Sunday.
So for the few people that don't know who you are, what do you do?
Me?
Yeah, what do you do now?
He doesn't know.
Lots of stuff. Gypsy.
What have you done? Where are you from?
Like today?
No, where are you from?
No, originally.
Originally Sicily. I was born in Sicily originally.
Okay.
Sicilian.
I got one of those.
You're a Paisan.
Paisano. See.
Oh.
I actually spoke to Mac Pappas today in Italian, and he kind of stopped for a minute because he looked at me a little funny, and he's like, "Man,
you guys got all geeked out together."
Huh?
You guys got all geeked out together?
No, he's from way north. They speak a whole different language than we do, but they stop and look, and he's all right.
I like Max. He's a good guy. I like that he's committed to, like, he still tries to do stuff in the karting community. I know some of the like GoPro guys especially are running his wheels, and
dude, he's building steering wheels for drag cars. I guess there's an NHRA event.
Oh, hell weekend,
yeah. And he's going to meet people there to have meetings about drag steering wheels.
Yep.
That's cool.
Yeah, actually, I was at Brian McCaddy's shop. He does a lot of graphics. He does all of our graphics. And he used to race go-karts, and now he got into drag racing, or he's always been into it or something. But he's got a dragster, and it's got an MPI little steering wheel. Like, it looks like a mini go-kart wheel with some buttons on it.
Dude, his dragster's fast as fuck too. Like, that's a 200 mile an hour, like 1,000-foot pass car.
Yeah.
I guess I'm going Friday night to go.
Are you going the one down in was it Concord, right? The 4 wides. Yeah, dude, they do the 4 wide nationals there. That's dope.
So sick.
Yeah, I haven't been to much drag racing in my lifetime.
I don't really understand the racing side of it, but when you're there, like, I have been to a Top Fuel race, and the feeling of that much horsepower taking off is crazy.
Dude, it's insane. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's almost like the car's standing still and it's just turning the earth behind it. Like, that's so gnarly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, and the like the wrinkle wall tires, the entire the sidewall of the tire just collapses on takeoff and just grabs the ground.
I pounds of pressure is insane. We think we're low. Those motherfuckers got.
Think
they know how
about
to go
how
low.
much volume that is to get
It's
to
insane.
4.5 psi though.
That's
so much
I don't
volume.
remember who I was talking to. I was talking to somebody like a week ago that said they went from like club racing, and I think they probably like ran Hoosiers at their local club, so they're used to running like 12, 13 pounds. And then they drove a shifter somewhere, and they're like, someone told them like 6.5, 7 pounds, and they were like, their fucking minds were blown, dude. They just lost
Yeah.
7 pounds. What do you mean? Like, dude, it's a different thing. It's totally
Dude, nowadays, dude, on an MG Red, some tracks you're up to 22 at.
Yeah.
And really, just to get them to roll,
dude. Yeah, just get them to get. I don't even know what it is. Whatever it is, I mean, just to get them hot. It's like you got to run some insane pressures once in a while. At some certain tracks, you're just like, damn.
It's a gamble.
Am I guessing Road America is probably like that, right?
Yeah. I mean, it starts out that way at the beginning of the weekend, but it develops.
Yeah. You'd be surprised at Newcastle, to be honest with you. Newcastle will trick you too.
Yeah, Newcastle's a weird one because it's such. I think the track's so big and the straights are so long that the tire just gets cold by the time you go into turn one.
Yeah,
it's insane.
But yeah, it's definitely a different. We were just talking to Josh Conker on the last episode, and he was saying how Newcastle's his favorite track in the country because it's so different. Like, it's really. I mean, we're used to it, I guess, now because every series has gone there for the last decade and a half. But
that and like national racing alone, like the Pro Tour and the USPKS stuff, other than PKS going to Orlando, which is a super tight little track.
Yeah,
super fun, super cool, but total polar opposite to every other track we race against on the national schedule. Like NOLA is massive. Like NOLA's overwhelmed. My first time at NOLA, I was like, holy shit, this is overwhelming.
Well, you get 150 fucking corners. How do you remember it all?
Yeah, well, that and it doesn't like it. Everything's so wide and it almost like doesn't flow because it's so big. Like you don't even use the whole last corner. You don't use 3 quarters of that racetrack.
Yeah.
So it's just like this massive place. And same with Utah, another massive racetrack, long straightaway. Newcastle's
massive too.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. GoPro, another huge facility in comparison to some. Like in it's funny, we were talking about I was talking to a couple of friends since Cal Speed's closing in California, and we got 5 or 6 tracks down there, but they're tiny, like older, like what you would see in Ohio maybe here. Maybe not quite that small, but like G&J style tracks. There's a lot of that in California. Like Adams is like California's SoCal's like mecca karting track. And
that's the one that's really tight.
It's pretty tight, but like it's I mean, it reminds me a lot of Orlando because it's kind of built in it's built in a hole, and it's kind of a stadium kind of feel going around the little Monza and the big Monza. But it's an old school track. Apex is really probably the one you're thinking of. Apex is really tight. It's really narrow.
Like sand instead of grass and shit on the inside of the track, or there's one that's like dips and sand. I can't remember it's got big curves.
Adams, maybe
it's Adams.
Adams is like that too. Adams and Apex are built. I mean, it's just dirt. There's no grass.
Yeah, Adams is the oldest track in the country, right?
No.
Is it the first one, or no?
I think the oldest standing track in the country is, if I'm not mistaken, I know Adkins is one of the older ones, but I think
D&J is also an old one.
I think Whiteland is the oldest still operating go-kart track.
Oh, you might be right. You might know. I say, you might be right.
There's something about, like, I have a Whiteland T-shirt that says something about it being one of the oldest operating tracks.
Adkins is one of those
original layout. Maybe his original layout, something like
Adkins is one of those badass old school, like their Monza turn. There's like one of the coolest turns in karting of any track in the country still today.
I was reading a Vroom magazine the other day, and in the Vroom magazine, they have a whole section of Ohio kart tracks because karting started in Ohio.
Yeah,
like the origin of go-kart racing is in Ohio, which is baffling.
Cool as shit, dude.
This is the weirdest shit in the world, but
they
have there was a whole article. There's like in 4 different magazines I have. There's a different article about a track or a kart manufacturer that was in Ohio back in the day.
What's the one that had the silos? Is that G&J?
That's G&J. That's where WKA was originally founded.
Yeah,
that's an old track.
Yeah, dude.
Super sick track. It's one of my favorites, actually. Really fun.
There's a couple, and there's like not really a big. G&J is probably the biggest active track in the state right now. Like a lot of those old school tracks, like Adkins and Thompson, Fremont, that have been around since like maybe early '60s, dude. They're 20, 30 second tracks. like super narrow, but they produce some cool racing. It's cool
Dude,
that like
Fremont's
Brandon,
17 seconds.
yeah, it's so small.
Tiny.
Of the old school ones, Adkins is the coolest for sure, and Brandon and Jamie do a good job there, keeping the place going. And I think Adkins is the one that it's a shame. I don't know location wise, like there's not a ton of people around, so I don't think they have like a huge club deal. But I know.
Well, I
I
also
know
think
the
it's
people
hard
that
for
are
those
from there,
guys
they
to
dig it.
survive when 4 hours away there's Newcastle, 3 hours away there's
Yeah,
Pitt. You know what I mean? Like when there's these
Yeah.
nicer, newer facilities, some of that stuff gets lost in translation and ends up being a club track. But
Do you
Pitt's
think
another
in
track
the
that's
end
on its way up.
MCC will take over like
Oh,
what it would be in the
100%.
middle of Ohio?
Absolutely.
I mean, I think MCC has definitely put themselves. You know, it's crazy. Like when I first moved out to the East Coast, I was first going to all these tracks, and MCC like wasn't even on my radar. Like
Because it was
as
just
track.
a country club. Like you couldn't
Yeah, it
go
wasn't
there.
even like a public thing. And as Sean's developed it, and some roles have changed there, and partnerships have changed over the years, and they've developed the property. You know,
Right.
now I would say it's for sure at least not location wise, because the location's kind of weird. There's not much around. It's got the bare necessities to host an event and keep
Right.
people at it. But when you get to the location and you just I don't know,
You
you
don't
look
wanna
out
leave
at the
it.
facility, like
Mm.
dude, the place is it's like the field of dreams.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's awesome. And it's not overly done either. Like everything's done to the fencing they've built, the way they have those little those barriers that they've made out of those I don't know what it is, those
Like corrugated
tubes.
piping or whatever.
Yeah, the
Oh
piping.
yeah.
Like all that stuff's basic, but it looks
Yep.
nice, it's presentable, it's safe enough. Like everything, he's got everything going there that it looks the part, but it's just what you need. Like it's just enough to do the right job. And
Right.
it's like it feels like a kart track. Like GoPro's like super badass, but it's almost like overwhelming at times. Like
Yeah.
not really overwhelming, but there's a lot of shit going on there.
Oh,
yeah.
Versus you go to a track like that, and like especially when you camp at a track like that, you get out and you're like, yeah, here we are. This is a little field of dreams. Like this is
Oh,
just a
that's
great
cool
little
place.
karting
I dig
spot.
it.
Dude,
Yeah.
and could you imagine being able to walk out your back door and pound laps on a track? Like that's
Yeah,
a proper,
I lived there for
able to.
several months.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
amazing.
he knows.
Yeah, that's
He
cool.
definitely knows. Oh man,
That's
so
cool.
Tony,
Yes.
what's your favorite track in the country? I mean, you started your karting venture with your kids in Florida.
In
right?
Florida.
So you got a lot of time out there.
Homestead.
Homestead, get the fuck
Tell you
out
right
of
now,
here.
Homestead.
Homestead, really?
Homestead.
No way.
Yes. Dude, we used to go there. If you were in road tax as a whole, what was crazy about that place is that the club level was so big that you literally would go there 3 weekends out of the month, and they may change one corner, they may not. You just like it's Homestead, man. I mean, you had to have. I mean, for me, it taught people like balls to the ground every time we were going, and that place like built killer drivers, like ones that it didn't matter if they were hanging out, bullshitting the lap before, right before the final, but they were going to kill each other hands down because that track made you do it. So yeah, Homestead now with the runoff and the curving, okay, maybe it's not as cool as it was, but no.
You're talking about back when you had to jump the curbs in 1 and 2.
Oh, loved it.
And like,
loved it.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to get up on the wheel at that joint, but you
Dude.
also can't overdrive it because that track's super easy to overdrive.
Oh, easy.
So,
and the track used to get rubbered in really easy too when we were using other tires and when like I want to say it was the Sargents and the Keens one year they came together and they repaved it. That track was nuts, and it took like a couple years for that kind of fade off, and but that and Palm Beach is a close second. Palm Beach was super cool.
Palm Beach was sweet, man. It's a bummer.
Now, would you rank these like top tracks you've been to? Because you've been all around the world. I mean, you've had the luxury of working for factories in Europe and getting to travel back there. And what would you say? Like, I mean, is that still your favorite track? Going overseas and seeing what some of these professional facilities?
No, way different. You can't say that.
No,
there's not. Honestly, there's not tracks here that equate to any of those because.
Really?
Why is that?
Wow, dude, it's the whole thing. Right, like you get in there, nobody's busting your chops to get an armband. Nobody's doing this, telling you got to go here. You pretty much just walk in and out as you go. but the tracks themselves, like everything is on a schedule format, and even club races, even testing, when you're supposed to go. There's guys yelling at you over the PA system of when your class is supposed to go. And then listen, shit could mess up, and there's nobody busting your ass when you're running out on track trying to get your cart off the track just to start it and to get it going again. So there's it's just a different vibe, I guess. But the tracks over there, man, you go to some of those old school tracks, like you go to La Conca for that matter in the middle of summertime. And I haven't been there since they started changing this tire around. But last time I was there, it was like it had to been 18 or 19. But dude, the rubber would build in this place because it was so hot that a cart going on two wheels was common through certain corners. Wow, and it's a little bull ring in the middle of nowhere. And it was just, that's what you did. You know what I mean? I mean, it was, so yeah, I mean, I don't know. Favorite, if I had to guess between all of them facility wise, PFI, I think is cool. That place is legit. Yeah. The whole bridge thing is cool.
What's the other one that has a bridge that they race the world champs at?
Finland. That's Mikasalo. That place is cool. Kristiansand is cool. Kristiansand is long, and it takes a lot to get around there. I think that place is cool. Sarno is still one of my top fave ones. I think that place is awesome. It's just long, and there's a lot.
They just had the world champs, right?
Yes. Yeah. That's the new version of it, though.
Okay, so it's changed.
Yes, the straightaway changed a lot. You used to go around there, and before you'd even hit the start finish line, you were on the limiter, and you'd run the limiter all the way down to turn one, and that was the only way to run it. Yeah, you'd weld the gear on it. Most of those tracks, dude, they've run them so long, you weld it on there and make them drive and fix the go-kart.
Crazy. That's cool though. I mean, we even just were talking to Josh about the Rock Super Finals, and he said that like he had a chain go mid-session, and that someone like ran him a cart stand out and brought him back into Park for May to get it fixed. And like as someone who works in like the insurance side of the sport and stuff, that blows my fucking mind that they let people run onto the racetrack and like, I mean, you're just
KZ's ripping around.
Dude.
I mean, like in Garda, if it's time for you to go to lunch and there's carts on track on a practice day, you literally leave. You can walk through where you would leave the grid, and you can walk literally across the track to get to the restaurant.
What?
It's normal.
That's crazy.
It's normal.
It's normal.
I mean, I suppose
you don't feel like walking all the way around, so you have to cut through the middle. And as long as you don't get hit, you're good.
It's also like it's a different. Well, culturally, it's different, right? Like we have like a litigation culture here in the States where like somebody gets run over for doing something stupid. They're like, "Oh, I'm going to sue the facility" or whatever. Like that's just kind of a cultural thing here. Maybe if they don't have that overseas, they just take their like risk management into their own hands a little more, I guess. And
I guess I don't know. I never hear anything talk. I've never seen anybody hit, so I don't. I almost got hit several times.
Maybe they're just smarter.
People. Huh?
Maybe they're just smarter people.
I mean,
maybe
walk in front of the go-kart, you'll be fine.
Yeah, it's weeding out the weak, really.
I think there have been 2 kart chaser videographers get whacked this year.
It's true.
And I think
that's
just
that horrendous accident at Pro Tour at
what was that?
God, dude.
No. Remember at Pro Tour in Phoenix?
Yeah.
The shifter driver hit the corner worker in the middle of the kink.
Yeah, and that situation. Actually, that was the first year I didn't go to Spring Nats in Phoenix with the checkered guys, and that situation was bad news bears. It was like rough. At the end of the straightaway running counterclockwise, I believe, and one of the pro shifter drivers, S2 driver even, I think, someone was stalled and off the inside of the track, I want to say after the kink, like right after the kink. And this corner worker went over to help push start the kid and get him going again because he, like, kudos to the corner worker because the kid was in a bad spot. So the corner worker was like, either I go help this kid or this kid's about to get murked. And the corner worker went over to try to help him, and driver behind him didn't see the yellows, and he got murked instead. Dude, it like shattered his both of his legs. And
when was this?
This 2017, 2018, maybe a little earlier.
2015, 16.
2015, yeah.
So I was still working for that.
And
15.
the marshal that got hit is actually like the scale penalty marshal at Stars.
Oh, wait a minute. I did hear this before. This was a long ass time ago.
It was a long time ago, but both of them, I mean, both of the people, both the racer and the marshal that got hit, were both in really bad shape. It's affected their lives to this day. So that's it's one of those things where that's why we do the light system really is because every year we get people, corner workers getting hit and stuff. And that's usually the worst because they don't have a helmet on and, abrasion resistant
don't see it coming.
stuff. Yeah, dude, and it's the reality is, dude, it happens so quick. Like you would like to say that you can get out of the way or you'll see it coming. But when I was still filming, I was actually at MCC. So before the extension, not even a real fast track. And Annie Rule stuck a motor at the end of the straightaway and missed me by like a foot. And like I watched it happen the whole time and just had like it happened so quick. There was zero reaction. I was just lucky she didn't hit me.
That was the first year of Stars.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So that was
but who was the one that almost got hit in Homestead? The when Arias and
I think he did get hit. I think Trevor did get hit. Yeah, he got clobbered. Which is just one of those things, dude. If your face is buried in a camera, like, you're trying to.
Well, you're literally watching it happen.
Yeah.
Maybe that's what it is. No one's buried in a camera. And they're just walking across the track to go get lunch, and you're paying attention.
I mean, maybe
that's the answer.
That is crazy. That's at Garda?
Yeah. So
Garda's the one with the stadium, right?
Huh?
Garda's the one that's got a stadium almost like
surrounded. Yeah. Garda, it's the one that's like the I mean, every go-kart that anyone's ever driven in the U.S. for sure was tested there at some point, whatever model it was, because all the factories are nearby there. But if you go across the track, like there's 3 restaurants. You have like the cafe, which is like a bar, but it's a coffee bar. Well, it's everything bar, but that's like you can look out the window and see the track. And then you have another one that's like a restaurant behind it, but it's only open during races. And then there's one that's like a sit-down restaurant, but you got to go all the way across the track where the bleachers are, and that restaurant's underneath the bleachers. And that's the one that's open all the time. But you literally, in order to get there, you either walk all the way around the track or you say, fuck it, and you walk across.
That's nuts, dude.
So there's three sources of food at a go-kart track, and the restaurant's open all the time.
Yeah, the one across that you sit down, and it has like, most of them, they have like, there's not really a menu. You just go in there and what are you having today? And you look, and you have like a little salad bar, and then you can order a couple things, and you sit down, you eat, and you go back to your tent.
Is that track busy? I mean, is there something going on there every day of the week?
Every day of the week. Most of the teams will have like certain tents that just stay.
Or like garages, right? And don't they have like a garage?
No garages. No tents.
Okay.
So is
like
there
a trailer and a tent.
When you were in Europe, was there any like you said these tracks are open all day? Are they like open with rental carts at all? Do they do that in Europe at kart tracks or nighttime?
Yeah, some do, but nighttime.
Yeah, that's cool.
Like Garda does them at nighttime. You'll go and it's like maybe after 5 and they'll run till 9 o'clock. But during the day, it's all testing.
Yeah, wow, that's sweet. It's a hard balance to find with tracks here. It seems like you're always fighting the track to get like race cart time, owner carts, whatever the fuck they call them.
Yeah,
and they just want to run rentals.
But that place legitimately is like the mecca in that area alone. Every factory is within, a couple hours. So that is like the mecca of testing and racing and karting and all of it in general. It's all done right there. So, and they know that, and it works that way. I don't know how to explain it, but
yeah,
I mean, like the CRG factory for that matter, you can walk from the CRG factory to, it's a little bit of walk. You gotta go through a mall parking lot, but you can walk to the track from the CRG factory.
That's cool.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
so sick.
It's pretty cool.
Another thing I've heard pretty common out of people that have operated events in Europe is like not necessarily the officiating, but like the corner marshaling, like the people there to wave yellows, retrieve go-karts, things like that. There's just the assets. There's like 4 people at every single corner, and they're all like really highly trained, as we're like here, there's a very small amount of those workers that are even capable that like every program shares. It sounds like they just have more there.
those guys over there, though, I think it's more along the lines of car racing. Like, I think those guys, and I'm not 100% on this, but I'm pretty certain that you have to have like a CIK style of marshaling license. Like, you
Really?
have to go through, because the
Kind of
way
like
they
the
do it is,
SCCA here, like
yeah,
car group,
something like that. But they don't use like, yes, there's flags at certain tracks, but they use lighting systems. But literally, like, if they give you that half a chance to get it going by yourself, if not, they know when to pull the hook out. They got this big old rod with a hook, and they grab you by the front and they just pull it in and have a good day. You're done.
Yeah, that's something that probably also too people don't know. Like from an operation standpoint, that's all coming from like control, or like the control steward in the tower is telling the corner marshals like, hey, you have X number of seconds, or this is what's going on. Like we have Sierra Uber is actually who does that, job at Stars, and just trying to like get more on par with what they're doing in Europe, because obviously they're, I'm not saying it's better in Europe, but like they're doing a lot of things the right way.
Well, because they all run. I mean, everything is sanctioned. There's no look, man. There's no importers. There's no tire importers that run the event. Everything is owned. Like, the tracks own the track, and they run the facility. But when races come in there, it is a sanctioning body. It's CIK FIA. You go to Germany, it's DKM. You go and do the Italian Championship, CSAI, or whatever the hell it is. I don't remember. But there's no, like, there's some versions of club meetings, but they're not. Everything has a sanctioning body behind it. Even if it's a club race, there's people come in and do those races, and there's no, they control the event. So
when you say like a club race comes in, like does Garda have like a local club following at all?
Not really. No, it's all done through the Italian Championship and the CSIA, which is the official Italian. Same thing as the CIK deal.
Yeah. So they use that rule book for maybe like lesser regional or club style meetings, but it's the same structure and the same organization.
Yeah. Yes, it's always the same structure. The rules all like you won't get the same engine and go to two different series and be different weight.
Yeah,
that will never happen.
Gotcha.
Unless it's changed, and I haven't been since 20. But you can go to like WSK and then follow it up by another race and then go and do whatever, a regional race in Germany under that series, and it all falls in. Like, the weight's always the same. Maybe the tires are different, but ages are the same. What they do are the same. The way they gauge everything, all your pre-tech stuff is the same. I mean, dude, you can't even get on track unless you have a sheet filled out that has your homologation number of your helmet, your suit, your fucking race boots, your gloves, what chassis homologation you are with what serial number. I mean, all that shit is because it has to be, per what the CIK
Documented.
says, this is what you got to do. Right.
Yeah,
that makes sense. Huh.
Yeah,
So but that's like Europe wide. Like, I feel like it's so weird because in America, like, we talk about the difference or the separation between SCUSA, USPKS, ROC, like the differences between all that road tax, like whatever other sanctioning bodies you want to throw in there. But when you go to Europe, like, granted, they have way more tracks and way more people and participants. But like, when you think about Italy to like, okay, that's all WSK or whatever the one, CS, whatever, any of that stuff. And then you go up to like, how far a drive to Germany is? What, 8 hours, 10 hours?
Yeah, not even.
Not even. Like, so we're talking about, for me coming from Pittsburgh down to Mooresville, we're talking a total different sanctioning body with a different potential tire set of rules, like whatever. And we bitch about that here.
Yeah, dude, it's nuts. Like, you could do a race like, so when they would have a race at Amfing. Okay, there was a year we went to Amfing. Amfing is like, it's a town in between Munich and the Austrian border. Well, that series would run DKM, which is a German karting championship.
Yeah,
dude, you would go there and literally you're pushing the cart to grid, and they're speaking in German over the PA, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? Like, I don't understand what none of these people are saying. Next thing you know, you hear it in English, and then you'll hear, you're like, oh, Jesus Christ, here, let's get to the grid. And then you'll go to pre-tech, and these people are talking to you, you're like, holy cow. And, they may do things a little bit different just to follow like whatever, you know, the regulations are for the homologation of like say the bodywork. But I've been to races where like DKM championships where they take out like an ultrasonic machine and they'll go over like the Nerf bars, they'll go over the side pods, they'll go over just everything to make sure it's within, you know, X amount. And then you're there, you know, a week and a half, 2 weeks later for a European championship race. But
Yeah.
same rules, same tires, same this, same. It's I don't know. It's weird.
I think part of it's like a cultural thing too, where the CIK got in so early overseas, where like it's just what people are used to, and people don't like stuff that's against the grain.
No.
So like here, most of the promoters aren't the sanctioning body, right?
No, the
like
promoter is the importer.
yeah, the promoter is the guy who has the tire, or like the exceptions are like I suppose WK if they're still, you know, they kind of
Stars. In
Stars,
Stars, you guys don't
technically,
bring
I
any
mean,
of that in.
yeah, we try to separate the NKA and Stars, but the NKA is like the biggest sanctioning body right now in the US. We have like 330 tracks and series, which is more than the next guy by a lot. But if we were to try to tell people you have to run this specific class structure, this tire, all the people have to be licensed, all of a sudden everyone would go get their business somewhere else.
You tried to do it with the carburetor in the dirt.
Yeah, I mean, we tried to do it like to help the dirt market, and literally collectively in the course of 3 or 4 days, the entire sport was like, fuck you guys. And we ended up not moving forward with what would have been a really good idea to bring the cost down in a lot of these areas, just because we were about to lose 120 dirt tracks over it. And like, they don't, just in America, people don't want to be told what to do. So like, we do provide class structure, we provide weight. Most importantly is like technical regulations as far as how to run the event and safety. But at the end of the day, like if we try telling people you've got to run 100cc at this weight with this tire, people would be like,
but don't,
no chance.
Hold on, not to interrupt you, but don't we kind of do that now? I mean, if you have a red tire and a K100, you split 10 pounds difference and everyone goes all these races.
In fairness, yeah, I mean, at least at like the regional and national level for sure. But at like a club level, keeping in mind, you know, the regional national stuff makes up 10% of the sport collectively in the US. It's more like the regional stuff is like if we were to try to go to the Northwest and say, hey, you guys got to ditch this Rotax stuff and the Levanto and do this stuff, they would just go take their business somewhere else. Because the US is so fragmented. It's not good to be fragmented. Like the goal is to bring it together. I think 100cc and 206 do a good job of that. But like if you were to go try to tell a region what to do in that region, they would probably just be like, no fucking chance, dude. It's just
it's strange. It's strange though, because so speak about that. So the Northwest, and then we were just talking about like how far everything is apart. I don't even know they run Rotax with Levanto tires anywhere in the Northwest, because
they run
that's
fucking
far.
Yeah, LeConte, Rotax is open tag still there. Tag USA.
Yeah,
it's
open
still tag
tag.
USA rules.
Yeah.
I haven't heard that shit in 10 years.
Well, you got Italian Motors is still making their own tag engine. Like
I haven't seen that one either.
That's what I mean.
But that's a weird, and that's what makes it a little hard too, I think. And maybe it only can be the national level stuff, because, you know, and I remember this was me and Ewan did a Rotax event in New Jersey, right? So it was just he and I. We left with a smaller trailer and we drove literally from Houston to New Jersey. We were joking about it halfway through because, you know, that same distance would have been the same as going from Edinburgh, Scotland to Levanto in Italy. Well, that's like 7 countries in between. You know what I mean? Like,
right.
You know, I would have had to flash my passport 7 times just to drive through a tunnel. So it is different in that, and I don't know if you could ever really bind that together. But the national level stuff and the regional stuff that's attached to it, which also is kind of the same region, right? I mean, and owned by the same people. I mean, if that, I mean, I don't know. That's all pretty much the same anyway. The weight thing pisses me off, though, to be honest with you. I don't know
find
why.
All that being a problem, though.
Huh?
Do you see that like compared to what you're, there's really not many
Um,
people from the States that have the experience and the I guess
no,
just the
I
experience you have overseas. So is that a
yeah,
problem compared to what they do?
no, it's different. I don't, listen, class structure is class structure. I don't think though weight wise, I mean, you can't tell me that one of the biggest clubs in the country, we got to run the same motor kart tire and run that thing at 370 pounds, but yet we can go to Scusa, or I don't even know which one's lighter. I get confused all the time.
Scusa's
One of
lighter.
them's
Scusa's
yeah,
lighter.
355 and
Yeah.
USPKS is
345.
345. There you go.
Yeah.
See, I'm already heavy.
USPKS is 360.
We're
360.
360.
Yep,
So, and
360
you
is
guys are
pretty
360,
standard.
but then
360 stars.
the biggest club in the country, who has by far the most Ks that show up, they got to run 370, and most of them are the same drivers. Like that doesn't make that part I don't get, but
I mean, the weight is always like you're trying to find something that's an even medium, and it's like I think that what you're saying is super valid, but I'm sure that what they're trying to accomplish is not
the local customer.
Yeah, the local customer that's not like GoPro's a special case because a huge portion of the national contingent right now is from there.
Oh yeah.
But like we forget that there's still a big group of local guys that, I've had kids all year come up to me and like, hey, will you add 10 pounds to, why isn't this class 10 pounds more? Why isn't this class 10 pounds lighter? And it's like, the answer is it's got to be kind of good for everybody. Like,
Yeah, no, I get it.
we try to stay on par with just whatever USPKS and at the time Scusa, because I think Scusa changed theirs pretty late this year.
Yeah, it was after the Winter Series, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like if somebody's
Nova.
gonna go, the reality is there's a bunch of crossover in like specifically KA and then like the junior, senior, and then like the mini micro from USPKS to stars. So there's not a reason for us to do something different than what they're doing.
Yeah.
It doesn't
Well,
make
you guys
sense.
are all in the same region anyway, right? I
Yeah.
mean, most of your races and racetracks are in the same region as them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like I just don't understand. Like I know why they went to the 345 at Scusa, but they did that after Supernats. They weighed everybody in their cart separately and kind of came up with the average. But it just so happens that at the Supernats, there's, every year there's 10, 14-year-olds that weigh 105 pounds moving up.
Yeah.
And there's only like 4 or 5 of me. Out
yeah.
there.
Yeah. Do you can you make Scusa 345 or no? Or are you a little
right
over?
now I can't. I'm
weigh?
about 7 pounds over. I'm 172 right now. So if I'm down to like 160, and 165 is the cap with a cadet fuel tank and like no third bearing
with the
for
cadet
weight.
fuel tank.
Yeah.
Holy fuck.
Yeah, like dry right now. I'm 350. What is it? What was I? 353 dry, no fuel.
Yeah.
So and I weigh 172 pounds. Like I'm not heavy.
No, you're not.
But I'm not.
Not too heavy of a driver at all. That's And the hard thing is, dude, even with like KA senior, and I think this is the same at USPKS as well, but like it's 14 plus, right?
Yeah.
So with the option year, if you're 13 and you turn 14 before the end of the year, you can run senior at 13 years old.
Right.
And that's like, I mean, I get it. The reason they do that, and it does make sense to an extent. It's supposed to be for people that are too big for junior early. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
right. Same thing with going from mini to junior, or in the reverse, if you're too small for junior, you can stay in mini till you're 12. Or, so like it's supposed to be to give everyone a fair shake, and I get why young kids want to move into the senior ranks right away, but there's definitely it's hard to say because there's a big group of that junior. At this point, maybe they're young seniors like Connor Zilich, people like from that, Brent Cruz, that era, that have just immaculate racecraft. Like they should be running senior. But you definitely get
a number to them.
Yeah, but you definitely get some kids from junior that still race like juniors, whose mom or dad paid for their weekend and they don't give a fuck.
Yeah, there was a few that raced in Newcastle this weekend that way. You could almost, I don't know. I don't even know. Like for me, the one thing that I dig the K class, don't get me wrong. The only thing that bothers me about it is that when it became a national class, it now becomes way too spread out.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you can really see the difference of the the group as a whole, the 25% that are here, the 30% that are here, that it spreads out too quickly, and it goes back to the same thing. I mean, all these ginormous tracks, right? I mean, it's weird. I don't know how I don't know how you would do that. I don't think it's I believe the whole, there's certain amount of KA races that you should be able to do. If you're doing like the whole double duty thing, I don't think I agree with that.
I was just about to ask, do you think that there should be some sort of like pointing out where you can't run KA anymore? You got to move to a pro class.
You got to max out. There's got to be a point to where you max out.
See, okay, this is a perfect conversation because I can be the argument, I think, in that. Only because
you're poor.
Yeah, like I just don't want to spend
but
10 grand on motors. Like that's not my wheelhouse, and it's not my wheelhouse to put on tires. Like I don't actually practice on Thursdays. I don't come to the warm up races the week before. I don't put on 3 sets of tires.
Because who in the fuck, so you're never going to do double duty in one race.
No, but like I shouldn't. I know I shouldn't be in K.
No, but you shouldn't be in K. Yeah,
you're right. I should be racing
a Pro Tour championship in a shifter class. You shouldn't be racing.
Yeah, right. Like, and I agree with that 100%. But in the situation that we've been in for karting and all these conversations we've all had on Kart Chaser, and we want to talk about bringing outside money and paying drivers back more or whatever, we can talk about that all we want. But until that happens, like I'm going to spend $3,000 a weekend, and that falls in line with my KA budget. I would blow that $2,000 over if I want a shot at competing at Nürburgring and RPG. I know how much I need to spend. That's why I also don't race shifter karts, because I know how much Amer and the guys at Checkered are spending and the development they're putting in to be that good. Like I have respect for the hustle, but I'm just not going to hustle at that level right now. For no return.
Yeah, no, I get that. That part's also I mean that's a point that's probably that's a really good point, because I don't know how.
It's the same like Lemke, dude. Lemke's a bad motherfucker in a go-kart. He should be an X30 every weekend or a shifter or whatever. But the dude balls on a budget. Like it's a father-son team, and they bring a couple customers to justify spending that much money that they already spend to run KA. Right. So, but that's another driver. Like, dude, I have like him and I got into it for sure this year, but as a driver, like he is one of the hardest people I've ever had to race.
Oh, he's got great experience in that style of racing.
Right.
I mean, think how long that guy's been racing.
I mean, and he's a former X30 champion too. He won the 2016 championship.
16,
yeah.
I remember.
So he's no slouch. I think he won.
He was good junior too.
Yeah, he almost won Super Nats, I think, in junior X30, and maybe did.
Yeah, he did. I think he won Super Nats the year you won Super Nats, actually.
No, he would have been junior.
He did win a Super Nat, so I don't remember when, but I remember
he won last year too, in KA, but he did in X30, I think. But either way, that's another driver, shouldn't be in that class. Alex Stanfield, I know, is his first full senior season, won the championship this year. I'm sure he'll be an X30 next year, but you can count the top 10 dudes like Gavin Bailiff and Finn, like they've been experienced enough. They should be an X30, but it's a different program altogether.
Yeah.
So
and Trinity's KA program is like really taking off right now.
It took off when Tony was there. I'll say fuck everybody else. Tony lit that shit up. So
the X30 stuff I like better though, but yes, it was fun doing that with those guys.
Yeah, and I like the K, like the simplicity. To me, it feels like a proper go-kart. Like when people ask me, like, why do you run it? I'm like, it just feels right. There's no radiator. It's all light. Like the chassis moves better. Like it feels like it just reminds me of when I got to run JICA and HPV back in the day. Like it just feels like a go-kart.
It's a fucking HPV, dude.
Yeah, it's an
but
HPV.
so what do you think about but here's the other thing here, and here's where I find it interesting. And stars. Let's take it as stars as a prime example. There is no X30 there. Right, and that is essentially
they tried.
Well,
we did try.
I remember.
We ended up personally renting all the X30 entries KAs because we figured nobody wants to race with under 5 or 6 people.
Yeah, but it's a region though. Even that the region, it's weird. If you take it in a region of like how many X30s do you ever see run at Road America or Dowsman or
it's it's the 20
GoPro
RPG guys, and
I mean, how many every time there's an X30 class, how many people really go to GoPro and race X30?
Not many.
Yeah, we've had I mean, obviously, rumor mill. We've had talks about adding like a pro single speed category next year. But the reality is, like, the rumor mill is that all the KA guys that are ready to graduate from KA are going shifter racing. So it's like it's kind of give and take that we would obviously rather see, the shifter numbers bump
Yeah,
back
but
up
I
to
think
even
there's
where
a
they were that
reason.
first year.
I think there's a reason for that. I mean, you've got like I said, right now, like again, like I kind of laugh when people go, "Why aren't you racing X30?" And I'm like, dude, until like I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm a better driver than Paulie, Ryan,
You know how hard
Fletcher,
that shit
like
is right now.
any of those guys. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm more talented and I can win alone on talent, right? Because I don't think I am better than them. I think we're all great drivers, but it's coming down to the equipment at this point. And right now, the RPG crew has got something figured out that nobody else has been able to figure out or even fucking get close to, which is just the reality of it. And I know Tony and Ewan and Mike are working and Mario are working, I mean, all-nighters to try and find more power. And that goes to show with all the other teams and engine builders. Burrell is trying everything they can, bringing people from Europe. Ariel is working hard on the engine program.
For me,
And
Mike and Ariel are the closest ones, but yes.
Yeah, and everybody's working really hard to try and catch those dudes, but at what point there's one of two things either it's going to start happening. People are going to start cheating because they think they're cheating, and they're going to start cheating to hang on or catch up, or people are just going to fizzle out and go somewhere else to race, which is why I think the KA class has 65 in it every weekend, and the X30 class has 28 to 32, and those are guys that are just hanging on to pro status at this point.
But the only thing though with that, and I heard it out of a customer of ours this weekend, and it could have been a little bit premature, but the way they explained it to me made sense. So in the end, it is a semi-regional style of what it was supposed to be. It was a regional style of engine package. Well, now you take it to the national level, and RPG had a prime example of a customer that used to race in KA and they ran on the back, and then obviously the X30 class is smaller, and obviously you can complete all your laps because you're going to make chances of getting killed. In a 55 car 60. I mean, who the fuck starts 60 cars in a final? That's crazy.
That was a bit much.
It's too much.
Yeah.
So the problem is that the skill level from number 62 to number 1, man, it may change 4 different times, right? So now you got someone that, all right, let's say something happened, a flat tire happened, now I got to start at 58. Holy shit, dude, that's like climbing the Alpine mountains.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying, with flip-flops. Like, shit's gonna hit the fan, and you don't know when or how or what, but
it's gonna.
But that now becomes that part of the problem. So at that point, you're still spending X, and let's say it's a little bit less. And now again, I'm talking national level. Now you're going to take a little bit less of what you spent that you could have run X30, but Jesus Christ, maybe you'll finish every lap. Maybe you'll, you know what I'm saying? Your chances of death are way less than that with 25, 30 people than it is with 62.
I will say the main events.
Yes.
The main events this weekend in X30, like maybe Saturday wasn't great, but Sunday's main event
Sunday
was great. And honestly, like, and I'm not a Ryan Norberg hater. Like, obviously the guy's fucking good. He wouldn't win 7 championships if he wasn't great. But when Ryan was forced to drive through the field, it created a different race up front. Like everybody else other than maybe even Hayden. I mean, Hayden stomped on everybody and got blown off the track by Jeremy and still came back to win it, which I thought was mind blowing. But Paulie had a heroic drive back. There's a lot of drivers that had these amazing drives, and there was a different guy you thought was going to win the race every 5 laps.
Yep.
Every 4 to 5 laps, somebody was charging 0.3 a lap faster, and it's like, oh damn! But then he blew his tires off too early, and then the next guy came forward, and it was just like, it was a good race to watch. And I was honestly standing there going, damn, dude, I want to race X30 right now.
Oh yeah, because that's cool
for sure.
Because there's no survival. Listen, there may be some survival skills needed, right? If you're starting in the back or whatever, but dude, when you double the field and you put these people on there, I mean, you just don't know what's going to happen.
Well, honestly, I couldn't imagine. Like, I've been fortunate enough to have to sit in somebody's shoes that legitimately qualifies 45th, and then
Dude,
I haven't sat in those shoes in a long time, but I don't know what that's like. Like, what do you do back there? What fucking survive? Like,
what do you do back there, bro?
It's just the truth. Like, I have no clue what goes on. Like, I've had to mow through a couple of those packs, like coming from the back once in a blue moon. But like, you're just like, I mean, it's mind blowing. Like, if I had to show up,
they know you're coming at that point, dude.
Hey, listen, for somebody that works with people and and every now and then you'll get something that happens. The only thing you can do is go have fun.
Have fun, dude. Enjoy.
Survive.
Like, yes,
dude. Just good luck. And there's people that's what they're there for, dude. They'll be having fun.
Yeah.
For the rest of their life.
It's not bashing those people because honestly, we like those. That's what makes big races so big. Obviously, is the entrance. Yeah. So like, there's got to be a guy that finishes 60th. Like, he has to be there. But at the whatever, he should go home at that point because it should only start 40. But or whatever.
That's a hard
30. I think isn't it 34 in
34.
In Europe, it's 34.
CIK.
But
CIK is 34.
Dude, listen, it's 34 everywhere. When they were doing LCQs in Vegas, it was 34. That is a regulation rule. Like, it's it's go and listen. We call it the goodbye list. There was no LCQ. It's just goodbye. You didn't make it.
We don't.
Shows up XX goodbye.
Yeah, we don't have a LCQ at Stars. I mean, we transfer people from the B final, but like
I will say my favorite event of the year is the X30 LCQ at Supernats. That's my favorite race of the year.
If you're trying to watch somebody get murdered, that's the place to go.
It's amazing. It's just such a show.
Dude, it's watching people get murdered for the last transfer spot. It's not even like the people up front are like, we're good, we're gonna make it. The people for that last transfer spot are just full send, dude.
Or it's really the best when the people up front that we're gonna make it don't make it, and the guy in 8th is like, I'm in it now.
Thank you. Yeah,
that's the fun part. But it's
but even what's wrong in the fact of even like if you calculate points after whatever you got to do to get to that point. And you had some bad races, whether it's heat racing. What's the difference if you get to the point, they calculate points, and all right, well, I didn't make it. Sorry.
Yeah, there is.
I mean, you didn't make it. You still got a shitload of track time. You still got to use your extra tires. You still got to the point of where the final would be. But there's no, like.
I think that's what cuts off a pro show at that point. Like, if you're going to extend the show for participation, it to me, it dilutes the pro level of it. And that's the argument that everybody has with KA in general. Like, is it a pro class? No, I don't think it should be. Like, I don't expect to be on Xander's big screen every weekend for winning a KA race. I don't expect that one bit because I don't think that's what it's supposed to be. Do they deserve maybe their one-off national somewhere? Sure, why not? Whatever. But X30 right now is the pro show. It's no different than when we people look back on IKF Region 7 with HPV. HPV wasn't pro. IKF Region 7 had one national a year. IKF. The regions were our regionals. We had one IKF national, which was 100cc basically nationals, and they had a shifter and a JICA class or whatever. But when you wanted to pro race in the mid-2000s, you raced JICA and ICA, which is where I feel like X30 and X30 Junior fit in now.
Well, that's what we have. I mean, Stars was the same way. Think of what you had in Stars. That was exactly that. You had
it was JICA and ICA.
Exactly.
Yeah, and that was the classes. But you didn't see JICA and ICA at GoPro Club races. Like, you didn't race those. You raced them. You raced them at the IKF Grand Nationals because they would have a class, and you raced them at Stars of Karting because that was 4 races a year, and that was the big show.
Well, that's when you had one national series.
Yeah.
Right.
Well,
think about it.
I think SCUSA was a national series at that point too, but at that point, SCUSA
was different. It was just shifter.
It was just shifter, which Stars had a shifter class, but what set Stars apart was it was Pro Moto. But what set Stars apart was that they were a national series with a single speed category and a premier shifter category.
Yeah,
right. Yeah,
they were also Midwest, right? I mean, in theory, they weren't really Midwest.
Florida,
right?
But so was Scusa at that point. I mean, at that point, Scusa was Janowski's in Indiana, so it was kind of the same
story actually. True story.
So, but that seems like that's where it all fits in now. Like he didn't race ICA. I mean, they did have a JICA and ICA class for a little bit at IKF, and I don't think they did it WKA, but
no, never.
But the big classes were
Cup, I think, had JICA for maybe one
just for a slight
very small
time frame, and
they
was
were
a
big
small
on the
class.
Yeah, they were all the,
HPV
like the
and Yamaha.
HPV, Yamaha, all that shit.
Yeah, I remember I was running cadet, and we ran. So IKF used to and WK used to do Saturday was like Comer light and HPV 1, and Sunday we used the same go-kart for Yamaha and HPV. We used the same go-kart, and we ran the same one cart for Comer because Comer was like the one you really focused on in cadet. So we had a Comer light and Comer heavy cart, and we had our HPV and Yamaha cart. And overnight we would change to the Yamaha and race Yamaha Sportsman and Comer Heavy on Sunday. So you were running 3 different engine packages, and they had 6 or restricted 80 shifter. So I ran cadet shifter too. So we ran 4 classes at WK and IKF.
Dude,
on a regional weekend.
We never had cadet shifter out here, but like junior shifter is something that if we could figure out how to make junior shifter come back, that'd fucking be.
Yeah, but then it kind of goes back to. It's weird because we have this argument too going on about too many classes and age brackets, but then you go back to even what karting again used to be, and it's just different engines. Like it's the same amount of classes. We've never had less classes. We've always had the same amount. You ran
but even
Yamaha. With the Yamaha, you used to run a 3-hole can, a 4-hole can, and a Formula Y.
Yeah,
like all the same.
But you would run all the same class in the same weekend too, though. Like you would use one go-kart and run more than one class.
Yeah, but you wouldn't use the same engine. Like that was the thing they sold. Like a 3-hole can motor was not a 4-hole can motor. And a 4-hole
it's not a pipe motor.
Was not a Y motor because it was direct drive. Like it had a different crankshaft.
Yeah.
So
fuck. No,
you know but so like it's never been different. It's just like in Europe, it's the same way. They have Rotax, IAME, Rock, WSK. Like they have all of that.
If there's only 4 age groups, if there's, sportsman, junior, senior, masters, and each of those groups have 2 classes each, that's only 8 categories. That's not necessarily, it's not the 4 categories the CIK has, but it's 8 categories is pretty reasonable to get people plenty of track time in a weekend. And then you could have mini micro, you could have a junior KA, junior shifter,
but do you
senior
see how
KA,
they separate it though?
Shifter. Yeah,
see, they separate it way different.
They separated by even if you do a CIK international event, when you go to like a CIK OK,
it's 2 classes a weekend, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Then you don't even race mini at that category. You race WSK, which would be
like the Stars
CIK
program
level.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it's like the equivalent of like it's kind of regional based. That's
right.
Maybe some different categories thrown in there. Yeah.
Right. So then you'll get, and then when it's shifter, whatever that academy is, which is nothing. It's stupid. But that shifter program will only run shifter that weekend. Yeah. So the track stays good. The tires are all the same. Everything not all the same, but I mean it's close.
Same
then
compound at least.
How would that? I wonder how that would work here if we had let's just say I'm trying to even think what event you could do it at, but a Pro Tour or a USPKS, and
it'd have to be series that work together. You'd have to have one like a USPKS that said, all right, you're going to run this motor, this motor, this motor, this motor. We're going to run this motor, and in cahoots run together. And effectively, they actually, I mean, I don't know how easy it would be to do it, but considering that they're practically the same tire, you could almost do it that way. And then, but it's,
I mean, the big problem too is like promotion here. Not only are you splitting you're probably not even splitting the teams necessarily because the teams would do both.
You're gonna do both.
But would it be back-to-back weekends at the same time? Like that's where my mind was at. If you did
or even in the same weekend. But I mean, the reality is that doing that, if you're doing back-to-back weekends, now you're running half the classes, so you're getting half of the revenue back in, and the track rent still costs you the same amount. You just got to pay for 10 days now instead of 5.
They do it. They do those races a month between each other though. That's the
Wow.
difference. So you can do like say for instance the Worlds was a month ago for shifter, and then but they do it in a different format. Like
And
everyone
then it
thinks
was
it's
last
crazy. Like
weekend was okay, right?
okay, and that was in well the shifter was in Le Mans and the other
And
one
the
was
was in Sarno. I
Sarno.
think.
Well,
Yeah.
that's the distance of Indiana to Florida.
Yeah.
By
Wow.
car.
Yeah. So not too
Think about
bad.
that one.
I mean,
Yeah.
but like what I'm saying is that if a track here, if the promoter has to pay to rent the track 2 weekends, or they can get the same amount of revenue, cut that cost in half, they're going to run all the carts at the same weekend.
Sure,
Of
exactly.
course, yeah. Well, and you're not dealing like listen, when you go to the OK Worlds, like how many enter OK Senior? 100 entries? Is there
100
do you
something.
get it?
Yeah, but
100
even
something
then-
entries for 34 spots. Like that's
So-
different. When you have between OK Senior and OKJ, you have 200 plus entries. You can afford to do that.
Well, I
But
think the
we don't
OK
have that
Worlds is
bandwidth.
like it was like 170 something entries last weekend
In total.
In
Yeah,
total, so both categories, 170 entries.
Perfect.
But if you look at
68
it,
race between two classes.
yeah. So it's like, but if you look at it, they could have, taken that and made it 320 entries, done both the KZ and the OK in the same weekend, and now you're only renting the track one weekend. And
Yeah, but you can't. You would never have the time to do it because of the way they do it.
I mean,
out of that,
how though? Because it's the same session format as Stars, isn't it? Where it's like 2 heats,
Mm-hmm.
pre-final, final, but they do A, B, C, and D for
Yeah.
the heats.
Well, that's
right?
because they have to prelim basically. I mean, they have
But
to
that's
have
basically
Ponzi's.
that's basically the Supernats schedule, and Supernats does 500 go-karts. So like I think you
split
could
schedule.
It's split schedule, morning and the afternoon. So if you did like the gearbox categories in the afternoon, OK in the morning.
It's the
but
way
you gotta
they
remember
split
the
their
one-
track time too. They have hot pit, they have long
Exactly.
sessions.
So like
there's
the
a lot more
practice
going
sessions
on.
over there, the practice, even your quali session, just because they wait doesn't mean shit. Some do go out, but you'll have I think it's 15-minute quali, but your practice runs are 20-minute runs. Like sometimes you'll sit on the grid for 15 minutes and not do nothing. You'll wait. Or you'll go 5 minutes, come back in, sit for 5 minutes, go again, come back, go back for 2 laps.
Chassis change, something.
Yeah. So you'll get 20-minute runs. To run that many people, 20-minute windows at a time, that takes up your time. But they do it that way. And to be honest, it's not terrible to do it that way.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
It gives
But
you
it's
that
got to
run.
have the entrance. You got to have that many entries to really get through to that. So
Yeah,
it's
the
just
only programs that could really pull
sport.
that off is probably PKS and SCUSA at this point. To split.
Yeah, but didn't we used to do what was the series that we used to do here? Was it Rotax? Was it Challenge that you used to do hot pit and long sessions even for quali?
Yep.
And you could come in and like change your tires and shit.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Challenge of America is still to this day. Happy Hour is a 15-minute hot grid session, and like when I was running shifter there, we would always go out on a new set, come in, put another new set on, and do another mock quali run. And then now they don't in Challenge anymore do hot pit quali, but they used to when it was Rotax. It was hot pit qualifying too, 15-minute session hot pit.
Which, in fairness, SCUSA used to do that back when it was
Actually,
shifters.
They have shifters only, but it was 6 classes or 5 classes.
So why is that gone
classes? I don't know. I mean,
carts?
Joe and I talked. A few weeks ago. Part of it's the track's ability to have a hot pit, but I think that at least like 3, if not 4, out of the 4 tracks, because like GoPro obviously would be super easy to have a hot pit and then just stage. You'd have to have like a pre-grid basically where while the track was hot, the next class couldn't. Parc Fermé is basically what they call tech. And
but don't they? Europe. But in Europe, isn't it like a gated off area that's like impounded?
Not
to
anymore.
An extent?
No, not anymore.
No,
it used to be, but it's not like that anymore.
Got it.
But you would basically just hold the next class and not let them go to the grid until the class is checkered.
Yeah, you fence it off.
You fence it off and just have someone, which we already have someone at the grid monitoring when they can come in and out, anyways. But I think MCC you could probably do it. It might be a little.
You can do it. It's long. It goes all the way around. You can do it there.
We would definitely need
Who's the other one?
Additional barriers and stuff.
Newcastle, you could do it.
Newcastle, we could absolutely do it. Extremely easily at Newcastle.
What's
and
the
have
other
it be
one?
safe.
What's the other track?
We don't know
and
yet.
the other one we don't know yet.
Oh,
But-
CBA.
But one of the
CBA.
tracks you
Somebody
definitely
knows.
could do it at.
But one of the
and
tracks that we've been to before, you could 100% go all the way
Both
through
of
there.
the
Am I
tracks
getting like small hints? One
No.
of the tracks. Okay, fine. I'll leave it alone.
Well, basically, the
It-
tracks in the past, you could do it at NJMP and you could do it at Pitt. No problem.
Yeah.
Pit, you could definitely
Pit, you
do
could
that.
definitely do it.
Pitt would be awesome.
Pit's
So-
wide open.
I mean, I would
Yeah.
even I would
I
even
love that
consider, right now people complain about getting too many sessions for practice on Friday at Stars, which is fucking ridiculous to me. You'd think they'd want more track time, but they get 6 sessions. Maybe it's worth like cutting it back to 3 or 4 and
I'd
making
rather
them
have-
a longer session
Yeah,
with hot pits.
actually, I agree with that.
I would rather
would be
have
fun.
at least, I do like if it was 5 sessions with a 20-minute happy hour at the end of the day, and happy hour actually meant something. Like, I know it's going to as Stars grows. Like right now,
Yeah.
it does mean something everywhere else because you got to be in the right group. But if Stars broke down that as it grows, and it broke down to where happy hour is a true, and this is maybe an argument too to have with you, Tony. I've always liked
What?
happy hour to be as official as an official session gets, because it's
I
my
agree.
first chance as a competitor to know exactly where I stack up.
I 100% agree.
So
Yeah.
being at weight, I mean, even minor tech, please pull the airbox off and check the intake of my carburetor or my exhaust or whatever the heck you want to check. Like, I think it should be super official, 20-minute hot grid, and that session has some merit to it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but and I ran into that this weekend actually. That you say that USPS actually does work that way. Sorry, I'm walking because I need a cigarette. USPS works that way because I was wanting to change a go-kart and maybe different motors or whatever, but the only difference is if I change a go-kart for qualifying on the weekend or on Saturday morning, that I could not keep my happy hour time if I were to do that. Yep.
Yeah.
1000%. USPS works that way.
I mean, if it's in their, regulations, then I guess it just kind of is that way. But obviously, what we were going for with not having happy hour was trying to make sure people didn't have to buy another set of tires for the last practice session on Friday, which also makes sense. But at the point where we're splitting groups anyways, like K Junior and K Senior have been split this year, now all of a sudden people want happy hour to mean something.
What about even I've thought about this too for I don't know what you consider. I consider Stars like a super regional right now. Like it's definitely almost got the numbers of a national, but it's
just a
run more
badass
like a
go-kart
regional
race, dude.
Yeah.
I don't.
Okay,
yeah,
cool. It's a badass go
It's a
kart
badass
race. But
go-kart race. I don't give a fuck what it is.
what about weekends like that? Like limiting. I've always thought like, I've seen some guys throw 4 or 5 sets on between a Thursday and a Friday, and I look at them like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. But then again, I still have to go compete against those tire runs.
Yeah.
Like, it's difficult, and you almost end up rising to the occasion. Like, you for sure get behind if you're not on the same tire cycle as some of those guys. But what
Yeah, but
about
here's
the
what-
series
think about
limiting the
this one.
tires per weekend? Like, if I'd
How do you
almost
do that?
Well,
so now we
okay,
have to officiate tires all day Friday too.
Why not? I'm just throwing it out there. What if, as a regional or a super regional, where we know, like, hey, we want to limit 3 sets of tires for the weekend, use them as you want. Here's your 3 sets, but they're going to get scanned off the track every session.
I don't know, dude. I mean, that's
they
not a
do
terrible
that.
idea.
And
You
that's
need to look up-
saying you as a series, you sell all the tires. Because honestly, like, I'm gonna and this may catch some fire because I know a lot of guys sell tires and they sell a lot of tires. As a smaller team, I would honestly prefer to come to some smaller regional, like, again, the national stuff. I'll supply the tires; that's no problem. But at some of these like super regionals or regional series, I would almost prefer if I showed up, my entry fee included my 3 sets of practice tires, and as a small team, I don't have to order anything. I don't have to sell them tires. I only make $10 a set anyways. Like,
You
It's
should
okay.
look up the CI. I don't remember which one it was, but during like 17, 18, and 19, it could have been in the 20. I don't remember exactly, but I do remember. I'm not sure if it was WSK or I'm not sure if it was. Anyway, one of them, you were regulated on Friday on how many tires you were allowed to use, and that same tire, there was even a point where I gotta remember how it went. There was even a point to where
whatever you ran on that Friday, that tire had to be reused at a different point, and that tire was scanned. But it's in the rule book, so you were regulated X amount between a certain point on Friday all the way into Sunday, and
So
those were your
Not a
tires.
terrible idea.
We did that
No.
with Rotax with J3 when they were trying
Yes.
to when we were doing it with the
The-
lottery
the Vegas-
engines.
Yes.
So when
remember
we
that.
did the lottery engine deal, we also capped, and this started on Friday. They did have a Thursday practice, which was open. On Friday, you had by session 2, I think you could use the same set, and then that set that got, or maybe it was happy hour, but whenever they scan that practice set of tires in, you had to use the same. I'm sorry, your race tires. You also had to use your race tires, which was one set of Mojos. You had to use those, I believe, in warm up as well, both days. So it was
'Cause
like
think about this
you
scenario
couldn't
for a
put more
minute,
tires
actually.
on.
Think about this scenario for a minute, and here's what's really weird, and I'm not sure how many people really think about this. So happy hour, USPKS. There's no one that goes used tire. No one.
No one.
It
just
no
doesn't
one.
make sense.
Doesn't
Yeah.
make any sense. Cool. Well, that session is not 3 laps, and I can assure you, 90% of the people in that happy hour are not prepping for a pre-quali run at the end of the day on Friday into whatever Saturday may be, depending on where your qualifying is. So, what the fuck is what is the point of the 3-lap qualifier if we're running 9 or 12 minutes or whatever the hell it is on whatever that happy hour session is on a new set of tires?
The
I'm not gonna go
3-lap thing doesn't make any sense, dude.
It's stupid. I hate it. It's
The
actually
3-lap
worst.
thing is just like leftover WKA
Well,
bullshit.
especially when
NASCAR.
you're allowed to bump draft. Like, so I
It's
got in a
NASCAR.
situation this weekend where I was with Mick Gabriel and I caught him, and I'm coming to the white flag lap, and I'm like, fuck, I have to pass him because I can't bump draft him. Like, clearly, if we're doing green, white, checkered, and we're splitting to 4 groups, you want us separated and not touching. Like, that would be the only reason in my head to do that. And then I read through the rules because afterwards he's bitching me out, and I'm like, what did I do, dude? And he's like, dude, you didn't have to pass me. You could have pushed me, and we would have been way faster. And I'm like, yeah, but isn't that illegal? Like, what sense would that make to put 4 groups out there and green, white, checkered it if you don't want to separate it? Because they separate you.
Yeah.
But at what point does that not matter then if you're allowing me to bump draft?
It's like halfway leftover WK shit because WK used to do green, white, checkered, and you weren't allowed to push.
And that's like if you add that up between those 5, I think it's 4 groups. You know, the group itself is going to take 6 minutes to get on and off the track, like no matter what. So now it's a 25-minute session. When I wish you could have given me 2 15-minute sessions, made it 30 in a top pit for 30 people.
Dude, look at the X30 deal this weekend, right? So like they had a fast group, slow group. There was a couple guys in the slow group. Maybe something happened or whatever, and I was, we partaked in one of those groups. But the slow group, they go out there, they leave the grid, then by lap 1, 4 or 5 of them, they're waiting, right? Because they're not sure, okay, let's wait because that's normal, right? So then you got a guy that's on a flyer because we told him to do X amount, do this, get the tires going. By lap 2, you're done, pull off. Well, that couldn't happen because of that. Then the second group goes out there and they straight up just went. Well, dude, it made it was 0.6 difference between a guy that was fast in that to a guy that was fast in the other group because it was 3 laps. You know what I'm saying?
And then the other thing that happened was a dude's radiator broke or something in one of the qualifying runs.
Oh yeah, it was Saturday.
Dude, if it was like an 8-lap or 8-minute session, like maybe that stuff would have cleaned itself up after a few laps of 30 dudes running on it. But instead it's a green, white, checkered. Like there's only that wet patch got passed over a total of 30 times over the course of 2 laps by that group.
So
it didn't get dry. You know what I mean?
First lap were fucked.
Yeah.
Stupid.
Yeah, that's the only fight I've ever gotten in at a race in my life was WKA back when they used to waive your fast lap if you were like drafting. And Patrick Gallagher at Newcastle like pushed me and took both of our fast laps, and I was fucking fuming. And now like we get to joke about it when I see him, but it's also like, who gives a fuck if you push people in qualifying? Like, what are we accomplishing here? They push each other all practice.
I mean, I see some. Yeah, no, and I agree with that. Like, hey, maybe we just make it one big session and like this is it. Like even at these, when you go race cars somewhere, like some of the sessions in dirt circle track and stuff, you have 2 hot lap sessions and they take the fastest lap from those 2 sessions, and that's your qualifying number.
Yeah, it's pill pick.
No, well, sometimes like the big shows, they do have 1 off qualifying, 1 car qualifying, but some of them it's sessions. Like you get 2 practice sessions, and your fastest lap time out of those 2 sessions, that lap time is your
Oh,
qualifying.
so you
number.
essentially just scrap qualifying and just
Not
say
even
the
a
last
session.
2 sessions are official. Like the
Yeah.
last 2 sessions.
And that way, if you want to throw stickers on, then you throw stickers on. But then again, that gets out of your tire thing. So like a lot of things would have to implement and change to
but there's
to navigate that.
Like all this shit as a whole though, and even Scusa and Stars does what? Stars does a timed quali, right?
Yeah,
Everything's
Stars
timed.
is just everything's timed, but it's like I think quali's 10 minutes.
Yes.
And you just
So
whatever happens in that 10 minutes.
What's wrong with that? And to be honest, I don't think like if you got a hot shot deal or what to qualify at that track, why do you got to leave right when the green flag goes? Why can't I?
Don't.
I want to.
No, you could.
It's timed. Just do time. What's wrong with that?
Right.
Yeah. I seriously, I mean, I just don't know what we're accomplishing with the no bump drafting thing. Like, I don't think anyone does that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
One, it's hard to officiate, right? It's like impossible to get it right. But it's just, it's one of those things that
if you catch up to the guy in front of you and you get a toe off of him, and let's say he checks up in a corner, now you're bump drafting him. I mean, right. It's not your fault.
Right.
Way it worked out.
Yeah, but that I think that's the only reason they kept that in place is to limit that. But at the same time, if you don't have a rule against it, then it shouldn't be in place. No. I'm all of a fan. Like I just like hot pit. I think hot pit feels cooler as a driver. If you can come in and you can tell your dad to take the bar out that he just put in that clearly didn't work, or you want to make a quick, all these go-karts have these quick caster and camber adjusters now. You can make a badass front end change right away.
Oh, absolutely.
And it doesn't affect your toe more than half a mil. Like no problem. We can still go figure it out. You know what I mean? Or I don't know. It adds to it.
It's definitely in our plans for next year. I mean, it's one of those things where it's like it's not a hard thing to do, but if it makes it's like a cool thing for people, then it's worth doing.
Reinvent the wheel, my friend. Reinvent the wheel.
It's like the Stars and the Miami Grands too. Like the Miami Grands, everybody loved that format. You had to come in after what was it, your pre-final, and you had like 30 minutes to turn it around, or not even 10 minutes to turn it around and get back on the grid, and you're racing.
What was that shit called? That was the nighttime racing.
The shootout.
The shootout. Right.
I am.
We were draining tires, putting ice cubes on the tire, and then repumping them back up at X amount of time, and then you're shooting out. Like what? That is, dude.
That's
every
hustling.
People that were not involved were involved in that part of the race.
Yeah. Well, and it's one of those things where like you can do as much cool shit as you want, but for every person who's like, "Oh, cool shit, glad you tried something new," there's also some fucking geezer that's like, this year all of our sessions are timed plus laps rather than being laps, and it makes sense literally just because it makes doing the schedule easier, and because we don't gotta guess how many laps it's gonna take a cart to make a 10-minute block or whatever. And then it doesn't change. We don't have to change anything for like inclement weather, right? So if it rains, the race is there. Meanwhile, after the first race weekend, I've got a line of mechanics waiting to bitch at me about the time plus laps. They're like, "You fucking idiot! Nobody does this." It's like
I don't. Not to interrupt you. I never bitch because I still look sometimes. I'm looking. I'm like, man, when the fuck is this thing over? And then I'll look around. I'm like, I like that part. You would think I would get it, but I don't. And that's fine. I don't.
The beauty of it is it's on Race Hero Race Monitor. It says exactly
not only
not
only is it on Race Monitor, it's on the huge fucking LED board on the front straightaway. It says how much time.
I don't watch it. Corners, but no, it's
corners.
When it goes negative laps, I'm like, what the fuck does that mean? Do we count the other way? I'm like, and that's fine. I don't.
Dude, you're not wrong, but it's a hard balance. I would do so much crazy fun. The ideas Joe and I come with at 2 a.m. where we're like, why don't we try this? It's like there's a lot of cool shit to do, but sometimes you get pushback. People want that same
Yeah, but
fucking
I don't
cookie
think
cutter
you would
shit.
get pushback. I don't think you would get, and I don't even think USPCast would get the pushback when it comes to, like, if you relate what happy hour is to a 3-lap qualifier. Happy hour, essentially, we're just giving everyone $220 for a set of tires.
Yeah.
Because what does that really mean? You want to go out there and be fastest for happy hour, but we're going 4 times the amount of the 3-lap run. So what, you know what I mean? Like, it's very rare. Every now and then you'll go and test that. Like, all right, well, we're going to do a 3-lap run. I want you to come in lap 4. No, dude, I want to see what the thing's going to run, because how in the hell do you relate a 3-lap qualifier to a 20-lap final? Half the time you're like, well, shit, what do we do 20-lap final? Not me, but other people. What do we do for 20-lap final? I don't know. It's nothing what you did in 3 laps. I assure you of that.
Yeah,
dude,
you're right. I mean,
think,
essentially, if you spend enough time on it and you did test it, I guarantee your setup for qualifying would be one in its own every time.
Not exactly. Well, it is every time. Every
Right.
single time.
It's gotta be.
It is. And it's the same way they do it at this club race, the same way they do it at, and it's not to bitch at them that they're doing the wrong thing. I don't want to, sound like a asshole, but end of the day, it doesn't.
No problem with you.
Sense. Huh?
That's no problem with you.
No, I don't give a fuck. But no matter
Race
what,
is just lashing out because everyone on the internet was after him last week, dude. It's not your fault.
I saw that.
Honey.
What did you had anything? I did see Jerry Brown did apologize to you at some point that you were like,
no, I didn't race Jeremy at all hard on Sunday. Not one little bit. Like, to the point where I let him look like he schooled me on the last corner of the last lap, and I was just like, you know what, dude, you got to push back. I don't. I'm gonna get the spot anyways. You can take it.
Saturday, I just Sunday he told you you're not that bad.
Yeah, I was a hack on Saturday, and Sunday I'm all right.
Did you go to church?
Every goddamn Sunday. But
you liar.
They're trying to pull out the demons in me out there.
Well, it depends on if you got bit by a snake.
In fairness, dude, Race has never wrecked me on a go-kart track, and I still think he's a hack some days. It's not
That's
just
right.
Jerry.
I think I'm a hack some days too.
We're all a little hacky.
I just want to be like Ryan Norberg, where I don't have any hack days. That'd be cool.
Wait a minute. Hold on.
Dude, the Kart Chaser video that was like mean tweets karting edition, where it's just people talking. It was probably the funniest karting video I've seen in a long time.
That was a good one.
Those guys handled it well too.
Let's be 100% honest. For the past, I couldn't tell you how many months now. They all joke about the back and this and that and blah blah blah. Next thing you know, now, dude, you got to race with all these people that they just gonna take a piece out of you just for the fuck of it.
Yeah,
that's true.
What are you gonna do? Like, so you can make all this, like, dude, and you can't talk about it. You got to talk about it. That's what it is, and he hasn't had to do that in a while, and whatever, move on.
Yeah, yeah, no, part of it.
Part of it.
Part of the thing.
All right, so qualifying. Can we go to a longer session in stars? Minutes?
Yeah. So I think we maybe go to a longer session. You definitely do the hot pit thing. I actually, dude, I kind of dig the 2 practice sessions that you get more than one shot to be fast.
But then you have a problem rolling through with different sets of tires.
Well, it would be one of those things we would just have to regulate the tires.
Right. But nobody's running their second session faster than their first on a sticker run.
No, probably not.
Impossible. Why would you not do it that way?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if you do, you probably weren't up front then.
Yeah. No, the reality is next year I think where it's pretty much set that if especially for the K classes, man, if a group is going to be split, so we use, it's not even happy hour, just practice round 6 on Friday, sets the groups for qualifying. So like who's going to be in the A group and the B group. You can't call them the fast group and the slow group because I did that at GoPro and some parent fucking lit us up for it.
Jesus.
I don't know how to like if you're a kid, that's just a fact that there's a fast group and a slow group. But
you got to be, hold on. Okay, let me stop on that point real quick. If there's 2 groups and the What?
It was
There's
dude, it
a
was
fast
literally
group, there's the
there's a
top
fast group and a
30,
slow
and
group.
there's the bottom 30. What would you call the bottom 30?
Listen, it was my fault, right? Like
No,
the
it's
dad.
not. It's
Hold
the
on.
reality.
So the dad came in to talk to Joe, and I would just so happen to be like sitting at my desk the next, spot over. And he was like, "Man, I got to tell you, it really upset my kid that he's on the grid, and someone says, oh, this is the slow group." And I like after the guy left, I walked into Joe's office, and I was like, "It was totally me, dude." And he was like, "Fucking really, bro?" And I was like, "Listen, we were on the grid, and somebody said, is this the fast group or the slow group?" Because when they looked at the times, they knew that they were in the fast group or the slow group. And I said, "This one's the slow group." And that's
Is
like,
one slower than the other?
yeah, one was slower than the other, dude. That makes them the fast group and the slow group. We can call them A and B, but there's a chance you're not racing Sunday anyways. So like you're gonna have to learn to accept if you're in the slow group. But I think like right now it separates the groups, but we've had so many people say that they wished it lined the group up too. Because right now we just do like open grid where you can just, roll up with your buddies, go out with who you want to go out with. But then in the bigger classes, if it's still split and it's 30 karts in a group, people are like, "Hey, dude, if I was the fastest go-kart, I want to go out first in the group or second, arguably. You wouldn't want to go out first."
So
I
why
wish
can't
they
you?
did it like motocross, where like if you're the fast qualifier, or you're fastest
to
in happy
pick.
hour, you get to pick what grid position you want to go out in.
So why
Not
can't you do this? And again, it's not to sound that whole cliche European karting da 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 da. The way they do it, it leaves it in the hands of you, the team owner, the mechanic, the fucking whatever you want to call them, team manager. You have X amount of time. The whistle blows. You can go with whoever you want. You can sit there for however long you want. You can do whatever you want for X amount of time. And
Yeah, the
if you
track is yours for that time period.
and
Yeah.
no hot pit because they don't have hot pit and quali, but by that point of the weekend, you should know what the fuck you got to do. So in the end, if you've got a kid and a car and a driver or a setup or whatever that takes 5 laps to come in, you have X amount of time to get that done.
Yeah.
You blow the whistle. It's your choice, and you guys have the lighting and the timers. I mean, goddamn, you could buy an LED clock for $20 probably on Amazon. Put it there. It's X amount of time. The whistle blows here. You stand there and you wait, Or, oh man, little Johnny's got to take. It takes him 20 minutes to get going. Well, dude,
Send them out.
go figure it out.
Yeah, I mean, we kind of already do that. Like for qualifying, the grid's just open.
Yeah.
It just so happens 99% of people just roll out when the grid gets released. But we definitely like if you wanted to hang out and wait, or if track conditions are changing and you want to wait 5 minutes and see if you should go slicks or wets or whatever, because we do open tire too. You can do that. It just
You
people don't.
I didn't know that actually.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's
Changes everything for Tony.
fucking
I'm
now.
glad I could win your favor, bro.
Don't worry, we already have a schedule. Don't worry. It's
Hell
coming.
yeah. Hell yeah. Yeah.
We may
I think,
they have some shifters coming your guys' way too, so I'm
yeah.
excited.
Yeah, I think I mean, listen, dude, as long as people are having fun and, they leave and feel like it was a good weekend of racing, that's really all we care about. That's all we're trying to do.
Just reinvent the wheel, man. Just send it back to where it should. Nobody needs the same anymore, and that's the problem with half this shit anymore. Is that you can go to, Series A, Series B, Series C. You always have the same kind of feel.
Yeah.
I mean, how many races have you been to? And then, yes, start on Thursday. The same tire cycle. Everybody always knows it's this session, 2 days. That's what you do. Like there's there's no way possible that you can do a different cycle than anyone else unless you do a session that's timed, and then you go, all right, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this, and this, and it's always different for everyone. In the end, nobody really still cares what you do. You've already collected your own data for what it takes to get to the end game of the whole race. And the end game is what matters. You don't get a trophy for fuck all until you get to the end of Sunday.
Yeah.
What's the difference? So
yeah, I mean, we do the heats and pre-final are important at Stars only for championship points because you do get a pretty heavy percentage of championship points for heats in the pre-final.
Perfect.
But
shit figured out by then.
I mean, that's basically we did that so that we wouldn't have to have 2 events in a weekend. Because that's why SCUSA and USPKS, that's why they have 2 races, is because if people come and they run an event and they shit the bed on Saturday, and then maybe they don't do so good on Sunday, now they're not coming back. But if you come and you do good on, bad on Saturday, good on Sunday, you at least had one good day. And it creates generally like a better experience from the event. But if you get points for every session you're on the track, then we only have to do it once. And people still get value out of the weekend, whether they, screw up the final or whatever.
That's a hard deal to figure out, man.
Yeah. It's all.
I mean, nowadays it seems like all these nationals you go to, you better have it figured out the weekend before.
True story.
That's hard, dude. Not everybody can afford to get off school.
Dude, I don't think they should. If you're pro, like Raleigh and all those guys, like all these teams, Speed, all the big teams, every team that's there, every team that comes and participates at those events, they've got the brain power and the knowledge to figure it out pretty early. I get it. It's a revenue stream to come do these races early, be at the track the week before. But
yeah,
man, what if there was twice as many Carters because it was half as much money?
Yeah, but what was the series? What was the series that we used to do? That
wasn't it Stars that had a ban?
That was the one. Stars. Stars had a test. You could not. Was it like 2 weeks beforehand?
It was a month.
A month.
Or something like that. Man, don't quote me on that. It was 2 weeks or a month. It was one of the two.
Period.
It was a big time stretch. And that's what I think it should be. If it's a month, like, dude, yeah, you're gonna hit another race at Newcastle. And we go to Newcastle 4 times a year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like at the end of the day, you don't have to come the week before. Like I didn't even practice on Thursday because everybody looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, what do you mean, dude? I've got 10,000 laps around this joint. Like the gearing's the same as it's always been. This is the same as it's always been. I got to balance the cart out for the grip level we're at right now and send it. Like it's not that hard.
Yeah.
No, and that's what I think the conversation on a different show yesterday, actually.
Yeah, that show is owned by this one basically, so you can talk about that one.
No, I'm not. No, but that was a conversation that was had, and, and the point that was spoken about a little bit is that. So what happened? So like, now you talk about seat time or get people in the carts or getting them warmed up. So what happened to like the regional or even like your club level stuff or like where did all that go? That to me blows my mind. Like, so it's okay to have a couple of national series, right? But you don't have to just do those and lead up into that. You can go to this race. You're still turning the steering wheel, hitting the brake pedal and the gas pedal. For me, it's still the same. It just, you don't, I don't know.
That was kind of my question with what do you do with you're the guy at USPKS qualifying 45th? Like if I was sitting in that position, I would probably question myself and go, damn, maybe I shouldn't have come from whatever place. And I should have, maybe I should, if I'm from Texas, I should spend more time at this Texas Sprint Series, I guess, and like try and work on finishing in the top 5 there. Yeah. Because clearly the guy that's winning Texas Sprint Series races is Stanfield, who's also our new champion in KA. So like you're still racing great drivers. You're just not having to travel across the country and potentially not make the main to figure out that you still got work to do.
There's just not as many of those drivers that are running the smaller, like club regional level stuff.
Yeah, but see, I think there's also another part to that. I don't think there's that many club regional levels left.
There isn't. There is not.
There's certainly not as many as there were, but there's definitely one in every region, at least one good one in every region.
Yeah, you got the Florida deal going, Sunshine State Series.
Yeah, you've got
Texas Sprint Series,
Texas Sprint Series, Colorado Karting Tour, the
Pro Kart Challenge.
Pro Kart Challenge in Cali, the Pad Holder Super Cup in the Northwest,
Stars,
the
Spartan Series,
F Series. Like there's a program beneath SCUSA and USPKS that you should be able to go run in every part of the country.
Why don't they do that?
Dude, I think part of it's probably an ego thing. Like they think they're above it. right?
I think it's a social media driven thing too. Like if you say you were participating at the, like we have a kid in our tent that last year came to the Supernats as a spectator and was dreaming about being and competing at that level one day. And then all of a sudden this year, I made a joke to the parents the other day. I said, it's funny. You had this dream in November of last year, and here we are in this, September of this year, not even a year later, and you're MFing at the team every time that your kid's not in the top 10 at a national. Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
A year ago, you dreamed about this level of competition, and right now we're complaining every time, when we know it's the driver, we're complaining about the engine in the cart. Like a year later, we're at that caliber.
People they lose sight of why they race go-karts really quick.
I don't even think it's sight of why. It's like you when you put it in that perspective, less than a year ago, you dreamed of this moment and this level of skill, and we're a year later. You're racing kids that have been doing this. If you're a senior, you got to race guys like me that have been doing it for 20 years.
Yep.
And then you got guys, these kids, even these 14-year-olds. You got Brent Cruz coming through, and they look at him like a 15-year-old, and the kid's been driving since he was 4. And he's raced twice a week, every week. Whether it's Millbridge or GoPro or National or whatever, for his whole life. Like the seat time and and you're going to try and complain against that in a year? It's crazy to me. But a lot of people want to rush success, and they think this is like a thing they think, it's crazy. I have a couple customers that truly think at the end of the weekend, when they don't have a good weekend, it was a waste of money. And then they have other weekends when they have a banger weekend, they get on the podium, and they're like, man, that was like the craziest. Like it's so emotion driven that they think like it's money related. Like you can spend another $5,000 and win, and it's just not how it works.
Yeah, but see, and that's where my point is to some of this other shit that when I said that we spent 3 weeks out of every month at Homestead, right? That club series you're talking about. So my oldest, Dominic is 25 now, right? You're talking about the generation deal of those kids. You're talking about that was Oliver, that was Garrison, that was Kirkwood, that was Ashley, that was
like the last great generation, like before the generation now.
And it's not to knock the generation like, oh, it's terrible. But dude, we all put in the work to do it, and they race each other. And then you would go to a national event. Well, guess who was always up front? The same people that were running these races. They don't. So like even like and hold on, I'm looking for my room.
But they probably went through the proper trajectory, which is like you club race and then you regional, and you spend a lot of time learning racecraft before you go run SCUSA.
But here's the other thing, and here's what blows my mind a little bit. Working in the industry, and God knows I do every race I could possibly do, all over the place. I can tell you this: I did that SSKC race not too long ago in where was it? Orlando. When I went back to that race, I had not done an SSKC race, and I live in Florida. I hadn't done one since the inception of the series. But walking around that place halfway through like the first day or second day, I looked around and I was like, man, I have not done a race in Florida I could go back a whole year to 2 years to where I was like, man, when was the last time I didn't do a race here that wasn't a prelude to a national event? So it's not just that motion. Everybody always thinks that they can go from, pick a track. All right, now we're going to go national racing. No, dude, you forget that sometimes maybe even the testing version of what you're doing, and it's okay to do those races, regardless if you think you're winning or not winning or whatever it is. Like there has to be I don't know what it is. I don't even know where it all went wrong. And even for guys that work in it, we all look at those races and we all stay busy and we get paid to do it. But man, sometimes it's not a bad thing to just, focus on the region that you're in, because you can get the seat time, you can get the practice, you can get, working on it. You're going to learn more. You're going to, there's a lot of stuff to it. And I think that part of it, and it depends on the region, maybe, I don't know, but that's why I enjoy coming to GoPro. GoPro as a whole is a club level race, and they do it once a month. But dude, today is what, Wednesday? There's trailers out there right now, and people are on track.
GoPro's a staple though. Like I
Yeah,
don't
but I also
think there's
think like
hardly any other
tracks.
clubs that are able to pull off what GoPro does as far as the quality of their club stuff.
Yeah, but it used to be that way for a lot of other places.
But
Yeah.
it was, but in my opinion, like living in Mooresville and having a small kart shop and team out of that track for a couple of years, it and seeing, and I always compared GoPro like as the East Coast version of LAKC and Cal Speed.
Yeah.
Because Cal Speed was one and the same, but I kind of found that I think my answer to your question based on if we were just having this conversation is I don't like seeing Gittel tents at club races. I don't like that at all.
Sure.
And you go to Cal Speed and Ryan Perry and Seth Nash and Billy Musgrave and all these guys, they've got their big setups up at these big these club races. And I don't know. I grew up really different. My dad had a kart team, a small kart team. He knew how to build engines. He worked on all this stuff himself. We basically had a shop and a little machine shop too at that. At our disposal. My dad was very hands-on, so I didn't really get raised in my dad didn't struggle to figure it out. Like every time I got in a go-kart, he had the knowledge to figure it out for us. So it's like I had my own personal team. But I don't know what it was like in the shoes of people that got into the sport with no knowledge on motorsports before, but everybody seemed to try and learn a little more. Or if anything, some of the other privateers lended a helping hand and families banded together and worked together. A little bit more in the past, where now you roll your shit into Nash's tent and you go, well, how much is it for the weekend? And then you pay them. And then, but by the time they add that up and they go, well, how much is it to travel? And it's an extra $1,000. You're like, well, why are we just staying at home? We can go run USP cast for another $1,000 when it didn't used to be like that. Yeah. It used to be you showed up in the back of your pickup truck or your family, as a family, you bought a 12-foot trailer. And you showed up to the track with a basic set of tools and you bought spares from your local dealer and you had your own little spares package and you ran your own little race program and you tried your ass off and there wasn't big teams there. The big teams, the big shops, like I remember PCH back in the early, the CRG days. I mean, PCH didn't show up to even a pro kart race. PCH went to, which was the biggest CRG team in the country at one point in the West Coast. They went to Stars, big IKF races, and like they went to the big events. But that shop supported local people with parts, sales, some knowledge base to go back to, secondhand national level equipment, things like that. Like the economy of it was a little different. There was more brick and mortar shops because there could be. So it was just a different level of support where now everybody just rolls their stuff in a tent, slaps a different sticker kit on it, and it's like, cool. How much?
Well, but go back a little bit on that. I think those guys are still there. The difference is that, and maybe it is social media, maybe it's the internet, maybe it's the way things all work now because the information now is just so easy to get to. But then if you again, go back to little Johnny. Little Johnny's good at X amount. I just need to find this guy, and he's in our local area, and now this guy does these races. But so I don't think, and we have a we all talked about it as a whole, and maybe it's okay to have certain people at certain races that you can support those local people and see what it is, because it's not bad, dude. If I don't condone the guy that sits at the same racetrack and does lap after lap after lap for years, and then he can't figure out X amount of tracks for it'll take him forever to get going. But at the same time, man, it's not the regional series in certain areas, like I miss that because I think that was the most important, vital part of all this. Because there was regions, dude, that you'd go to 5 or 6 different tracks, and man, there's sometimes you'd go to places and you're like, who the hell is that kid? And he is like bad fast at a track that you've never seen before or whatever. You're like, man, that's pretty cool. But it's taken that one and going forward with them and trying to understand if they can compute how it all goes. But again, it goes. Yeah, I mean, you're right. I don't know. It's a hard balance because
I think it's all different now too.
Yeah,
I think it's all just in general. It's a little different because then like now I think we are actually secluded with classes. So like LO206 is a great example. LO206 people. I mean, that is a budget so low at some places. Like these guys that race here, my customer base here in Pittsburgh, these guys don't leave here. They just don't. Like, and even when Stars comes to town, you get 10 entries, but we get 75 every club race. Like, it doesn't make sense. There's the same class, but they had to buy an extra set of tires. So like that mentality is way different. It's its own mentality of people and hobbyists. But when you get to like way back when, I guess the Comer class was at every club. The Yamaha was at every club. And that same engine, those same engine packages that were the entry level stuff. I mean, a Yamaha used to be $800, $700 for a brand new Yamaha, minus a mount. So in a clutch, so you go buy a clutch and a mount, and you're in this package for $1,000. Let's call it unblueprinted, but you could go race like that.
Maybe.
And you could still enter. I mean, yeah, it might not run, but you could go do that. And then you could, when Region 7 would roll into town, that was my one big race a year when I was still club racing and figuring it out.
Yeah.
Like my dad's like, all right, we're top 5 in the club. We'll do the IKF race when it rolls into town. I finished 15th for the first couple of years. And then by the time I cracked the top 10, he's like, yeah, we can travel now. You know what I mean?
I think that was the norm back then. Like when Robbie Budoso and I started and Sam Beasley, we like club raced for 2 years together. And then they let us, like our parents let us regional race. We ran like the Great Lakes Sprint Series. And then once we were all like, competent there, we were probably 11 or 12 before they let us run national stuff.
Yeah.
Well,
like we've been racing go-karts for a couple of years.
Think about how we did the Rotax days in Florida, right? And you had in the Cali was the same way, the West Coast deal, but you'd run your regional deal, then you get to a regional race that would have been like you pick, I don't know what they called it. It was like East Coast and West Coast regional. They'd pick the top 15 out of every class to race against the West Coast, and then you did that national. Well, that national was the biggest event you would ever see in your life.
Rotax Grands was cool.
Oh, dude, it was, but it was the way it was all done. So I'm not sure that, obviously now it's way different, right? Like there's importers and supporters and people that own series and, they own this, that, and the other. And maybe it's a little bit different with that, but I don't think that, maybe there's just not enough of them. Cause even that SSKC race, I think that's a decent series in Florida. Cause Florida, we don't have a big regional series like we used to have, but effectively over the course of the whole year, we only have, I don't know, it's like 3 or 4 races in total. So in 12 months, you're only doing 3 or 4 races.
Yeah, well, but then if
series
you
like
if you
that
stay
don't
in
want to
that
hurt
region,
the clubs though, too.
right?
Like if they had 8 or 9, if a series like that had 8 or 9 races, now you're gonna affect the clubs in like a really negative way because a big part of that club contingent is gonna go, 8 or 9 races. I'll just run SSKC and these couple nationals that come into town.
I always felt like clubs always had 8 to 10 races a year. The regionals always had 5 or 6, and then the nationals were 3 or 4.
Yeah,
like that always seemed really normal.
It should kind of be what it is. That's enough.
Yeah.
Now, how many times do you really like you can look up and go, man, that's just another race, and it seems as if it's national test.
I just love how everybody started. Have you noticed that all these kids and drivers, like it pisses me off when you hear somebody call. I was at a WK race a while back, and they were like, "Oh man, I just won a national." And I'm like, man,
not really. Yeah,
I mean, it used to be.
There's 3 other kids here, bro.
Right, that's what I mean. I'm like, dude, I'm not gonna break the wind out of your sail, but at the same time, like, don't you compare this to a pro tour?
No.
Like you can't.
No, you can't.
I mean, when I was a kid, WK was the national.
Shit.
It was the shit.
It was the shit. But it's like
things change.
But now everybody, like, even honestly, like I stopped the kid in my tent at a Stars race, and he goes, "Yeah, I'm here competing at nationals." I said, "This is nationals, buddies. This is a real."
Not, dude. There's not a pro single speed class. There's not, all the big factory teams. It's not supposed to be that.
Well,
thing.
even just the dictionary term "national" means
it doesn't travel the country.
Nation.
Yeah. it's a super, like you said, a super regional. It travels definitely outside of the Great Lakes, but the reality is it's not and shouldn't be that thing.
But do we have anything stopping that? You know what I mean? Like that's the other thing. We talk about this now. If you get into karting today and you do some of your research, eKarting News for the most part and Kart Chaser really only cover the big dog stuff. right? I mean, for the most part, that's the only things that's really truly getting covered.
You can
So
just
you don't
cover
really get
pays on.
you don't get, well, they all do, right? But at the end of the day,
theory.
you don't get anything out of, you don't see any media about GoPro Motorplex if you're a new driver and you're not involved in racing somehow and you're from Charlotte. You look up the 2 tracks around you and you see Kershaw, which has 0 activity, and you see GoPro Motorplex, which is, obviously they have the rentals and you go on their website and it's impressive, but it doesn't navigate you. There's nothing to navigate you through the sport. You start club racing there. Let's just say you go win a club race, and a team there or somebody there is going to scoop you up and say, hey, you got to come to this race with us. And they drag you to the event. And it's not saying that the teams are doing the wrong thing, but when you're spending the money already initially, there is no path laid out for you. Like, yeah, you need to start here, because I've had to try and talk people out of going to USPKS races and being content with going to Stars. And it's like, dude, until you go, like, one, you don't understand what you're getting into. You're coming from a club race mentality, a true club, like not even a GoPro club where it's like a pro club. You're going from an LO 206 that has an open 100cc class, to you want to come run PKS, and then you're gonna feel offended when you don't go top 10 the thing. There's no guidance.
Yeah, and that's like, if you are at that level, why would you not prefer to go run at a place like Stars where there's going to be more people at your skill level?
They don't know
to share that.
They don't know.
They don't know. There's nothing classifying you any different than, or Stars any different than PKS, other than what us as industry members or industry workers tell you. Like, in reality, there's nothing breaking up. Like, if you look at, we're going to compare it to motocross for a second, but if you look at motocross, or even the FIA, the World Championships, like, that is clearly the world champs. Like, that is it. We don't even have a national. We don't even have a grand national anymore for anything but Briggs.
Yeah.
Oh,
there is a national champion
and the Miami Grands. Now,
yeah, but the Miami Grands,
is that a national champion though?
But it came at a point where we needed something like that, and then there was money. It's at GoPro. It's got sponsorship, dude. Honestly, like, no lie, out of all the races I've done, that honestly, most of the races this year here in the States, that by far was one of the best races ever.
Yeah.
Ever. Like, hands down. Like, there was not a better event. And I hope that it just beats it again this year. But it was because you were biting for something. Like, it was something that you were working for. Like, it was there was nobody that wasn't gonna stop until either we won or got here or got there. Like, it just wasn't another, oh, here we are in Newcastle again. We got to do this, that, and the other. Like, it meant something, which was cool.
Yeah.
So, but that's what those old Grand Nationals used to mean.
Yeah, like those when you had IKF Region 7, you had to go to I want to say 3 events to even punch a ticket, to even get a chance to race the Grand Nationals. The big race. You had to do 3 of the regionals to even get the opportunity to race the national.
Well, same with road tax. Remember,
right?
You had to punches. Have a punch. Yeah, you had to have punches. You were not able to even apply to go to that race if you didn't have at least 4 or 5 punches.
And I think something to do with that regional you talked about, that they always put a regional in the East and the West.
Yes,
but
East and West.
There was like a stepping, like there's no guide, like to actually guide the customer anywhere. There's no. Oh, you have to start here. There's no you have tos. Like, if I was USPKS and I owned Route 66, which rumor has that's for sale, that's your punch series. If you do 3 Route 66 events and make the main in all 3 of them, you now can qualify for your A license to come run the national. And I get it. Like, well, the only thing that's wrong with that is the guy sitting there collecting the money is now not going to turn anybody away right now. You know what I mean? Like,
that's the reason there's masters classes at the Supernats and things like that. Like, if someone's like, hey, we'll shell out the dough and help you do this, you're not going to say no to a certain extent.
Well, the reality is, in North America, like, the dollars and cents may make sense right now, but I think the economic number doesn't.
Yeah.
To implement much of this, like, you can't say no as a series right now to a customer. You would be stupid to. You can't limit them on what they want to do, even as a go-kart team. You know, if a
But you're still
customer calls me
losing-
tomorrow, you know, I'm struggling to fill the 10 every weekend. And I'm sure a lot of teams are.
Oh,
So, you know,
Yeah.
if a customer calls me tomorrow from the GoPro club that's got 5 races under his belt, of course I'm going to tell him, hey, this may not be the right time. But if the guy wants to come, I'm not going to tell him no, and neither is the series.
No. Yeah, but that. Yeah, but that also, yeah.
Obviously, we do have like we've had to hit somebody with the I want to say it's
110% rule.
102.
102.
I'm sorry, 107. 101 is qualifying. 107%. Where basically, if you're not within X amount of distance of pace, then you're not able to race. You got to go home.
Yeah, that's fair.
And it's something that especially,
but like somebody brought that guy to the track. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a team brought that guy to the track and said
exactly.
Yeah,
somebody brought him there, charged him the weekend fee,
Yeah.
said it was a good idea, and then he had to go home.
Yeah. And
So
it would be good to have some sort of licensing system, but unfortunately, there's just not a smooth enough way to do it.
No.
Yeah, not right now. It's just
Yeah,
and there's really not that many problems. Like there's just not that. I just don't feel like it's the only sport. It's one of the only sports, and granted, it's such a niche sport that economically hasn't changed. It's just done this for a while. And I think COVID, it kind of went like this, but now we're actually kind of doing a little bit of this, and we're going to plateau here in a minute, and like it's going to stabilize again. But
and the same people that do it are going to just keep doing it.
Yeah. Right. So at the end of the day, like there's got to be there's got a lot. It all starts from the top down and the bottom up. Like it all has to meet somewhere. To, you know, these local and really the tracks need to try and focus on building their programs. Here at Pitt, they don't do nearly enough to get people into the sport. Dan Slosher's been doing more than the track's done in the last 5 years that I've been around it.
And it's just management. I mean, they
it comes down to the want. Rides. Well, it comes down to the want to grow the sport of like you said, competition karting versus rental karting. Like they're not pushing rental. Yeah, like I've asked multiple times, can I bring a race kart and like demo it when you have big corporate events or these big groups or whatever? And they're like, it doesn't really do any good. Really. I'm like, well, for me it could, you know, for the sport it could, but that's just not where it's at. So, you know, it starts from the bottom side. And
that's part of why the economics of these events too is like track rent used to be different. Now you go to a track and they say we can make $10,000 that day with rental carts, so you're going to have to at least cover that, and it's a day,
right?
And it changes the economics of what it takes to put one of these races on. You know,
100%.
people are like, "Hey, why is it so expensive to go run this race at this track?" Well, it's because it's a track that costs $12,000 a day or whatever.
The hard tracks to get into are usually the good ones right now. Pitt, New Jersey, Road America. You know, those are the hardest. GoPros.
I mean, those, like Road America is probably the easiest management team to work with,
management wise. But when you look at any of these venues that have these other real money making tracks, I guess the big tracks, you know, the economy of scale when they go to put the plan together is just way off. But
same with the rental carts.
That's true.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but you know, way back when, like I know my home track used to do. My home track used to not charge rent, and they would actually just collect the pit pass gate fee. So my home track has 7 tracks on it, so there's a gate fee to get in the gate. And when they brought a race with 300 participants and a total of, let's call it 1,000 people, $25 a head. Hey man, they just made 25. You know, doing pretty good.
And that's still the way, like a lot of these like super small club tracks with like these regional series, I think, do like some sort of profit share. And little tracks can make more money than they'll make their whole year of club racing with an event like that. And it gives the, it gives the series maybe some shared responsibility in the cost, but it also puts some incentive on the club to try to get people to run that traveling event because it's an opportunity for the club to make money. And usually those clubs are putting that money right back into the track.
Right.
We've been at this for 2 hours, boys.
It's been a long one.
But we
need to have Tony back on a few more times because there's plenty of other topics.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm down whenever.
It's good fun.
You fit the mold. You fit the mold well.
Once I figure out how to remember what the password was on a laptop, maybe we'll make it easier. But
it took us a little while to get going, but we figured it out. We did an episode with David Serra where it took us like seven tries to get going because
I love Dave Serra.
his internet wouldn't get going. So at least you didn't have to do that.
No, no. He's a good buddy of mine though, Dave. I love Dave.
Yeah, Dave Serra. I met Dave at an In-N-Out in Las Vegas, Nevada.
Was it late at night?
It was late at night, dude. It was not early.
The younger days of Dave Serra.
Yeah, it was not early.
Before he looked like Jesus.
Yeah, Karting Jesus. He's a legend. All
He
right,
is.
bud. Well, thanks for being on the show. We'll obviously we'll see the track in the next couple of days. But
yes.
You guys watching from home, thank you for supporting the show, and don't forget to like it and share it with all your friends, and please don't cancel us.
No.
See you next week.
We can curse more here.